All right, so I guess what's my response to Daniel G? What do you call me, a bitch or something? No, it's not that. It's the there's a reason for this memo, okay, and one of which is don't be clinging to old stories. Okay, there's a reason California failed. Okay, at a lot of things. Okay, and a lot of this is all old historic shit. Okay, that's been going on over a very multi-decade long period, and it's all detrimental at the end of the day. And it's not just male versus. There's a lot of. It's been analyzed way out. Okay, it's a media campaign that is ultimately detrimental at the end of the day. The first thing that you should come to mind when Daniel G is saying, hey, women should be, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's like, if you have a daughter or something, yeah, you teach them and whatever. Okay. That's a different story. But as far as just going out there and just, focusing on women, like, it's dumb. The first thing that should come to mind is Martin Lawrence in Bad Boys, whatever, about a dysfunctional writer who can't seem to, aka Brian's old writer. Okay, is what I'm getting at. Highly dysfunctional, highly psychotic as fuck, highly just all anything and everything detrimental to Brian at the end of the day. That was one of them. Okay, that's all Hollywood shit. And there's a greater when you understand the story and the system behind it. You'll be like, oh, that makes sense now. And a lot of it is that even in the case of the Ring of Fire and these are old concepts that were used long time ago, historically, back with Brian's father all the way up to and through Brian. And that's why a lot of this shit had to be disrupted. That's one of the reasons that Brian had to be extracted out of Michigan for a reason. Okay, because of shit like that. All right. And even in the case of, we'll use there's a Miami up-and-coming person by the name of Shelby out there. Okay? All bullshit, 100% bullshit, okay? Let's start there. Second, what is a Shelby? Think automotive, okay? There's historic reasoning behind the name Shelby, whatever, with regards to Brian, whatever, coming from Michigan. All right, Shelby Township and the vehicle, okay? In terms, even... Gone in 60 Seconds, the hot rod. Oh, hey, let me go steal. Hey, here you go, Brian. Here's a bitch for it. Nope, she's already taken. I don't need that. Like, it's in terms of story shit. Okay, is what I'm getting at. There's more to this. There's like it would. If I went into details too fast and too much, you would be on your knees, probably crying like a little bitch on the floor, going, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys do that." Anyways, what I'm getting at is those are old storylines. Okay, be very cognizant and very careful and very selective. That's why one of the reasons I say stop and think about it for a second. Okay. It sounds like a nice gesture at first. It sounds like something that's the exploit, by the way. Okay. It's the emotional exploit that's been around. That shit existed all through, especially through the Obama administration, whenever, during all things African Americanism, minorityism, womenism, feminism, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and every flavor of the rainbow bullshit. Okay. And all of it, at the end of the day, is detrimental. Okay, for a lot of reasons. Okay, not only is it a distraction, the movement for it is ultimately detrimental at the end of the day, and useless. I'll be honest with you. There's if you understand how and why. Okay, anyways, that's one of the memos on that. And this is the reason I'm bringing this up here, okay, is for future story purposes with Brian, okay, because that shit can't fly anymore, okay. It's all mediocrity. It is 100% mediocrity bullshit. What I was getting at with Shelby, by the way, in the case of Shelby of Miami, what you don't know or you don't see that the average general public doesn't recognize, like Brian picked up on it right away, is Shelby's young version of herself. The image of that's the long run. That's part of that ties to the things of Elon Musk and the storylines of all things tech, okay? Tech related, more or less, which was the Jackson side of things. Why? Because the Jacksons were the pretty people, okay? Get it now? They were the pretty boys. They were the hence William Jackson, and over in England, okay? William and William, get it? Okay, so it has made money for a lot of parties out there. It has made money, but it's done so with an extreme cost. Okay, whether they recognize it or not yet. So that's one of the aspects to it. What I was getting at is that her facial resemblance, Brian recognized immediately. Okay, that's what I was getting at. Some of these things are super, super subtle. You wouldn't even. Most people wouldn't. That's why the system exists that way. Okay. Not too much more to add to that. Just be highly cognizant of it. Okay. In terms of what I was getting at in terms of the ring, of the outer ring of Brian, historically, you got to understand that the original, that Walter Wishaw, all the way back to Walter Wishaw. We're not even going to talk about the whole thing with wishy-washy and data laundering, okay? Because that's what it is. It's money laundering, all right, of a different kind, historically. Okay, do you see all the detrimental shit they did to Brian? But then with the Jacksons, they see how that worked. Okay, so in terms of, these are the narrative things that when they flip the scripts, they never flip the scripts, mother. They cherry picked what they wanted to cherry pick, but they never cherry picked that. Okay, so make sure you flip the scripts on that. All right, sort of. The outcome is what matters. Okay, the outcome of Brian being financially successful is what matters. Nothing else matters. Okay, the outer ring, by the way, was more or less what I was trying to get at with the outer ring, is that historically they came from entrepreneurs, whatever. All of that got poisoned over the years. If you know the history behind this, the outer ring got poisoned because of money laundering, because of the outer ring of Brian, more or less. That ring got poisoned, okay, because those parties, so they got very disgruntled. A lot of parties got very disgruntled about it, all right? I'll give you that, the whole Michael Jackson thing, that was one of them, okay? That was one of them. That was one of the poisonings of the outer ring, all right? Do you understand now? Are you starting to get it? People got really pissed off about shit like that, okay? They should. Let me rephrase it. They shouldn't, okay? They should not be upset because the family never made money on it, especially Brian. The family never made, no party ever contributed to the real success of Brian. In fact, they contributed to his detriment and to attempted demise. Okay, so nobody should ever get upset about shit like that. Okay, those were corrective situations. All right, and that's what's been going on historically. Okay, there's more to that story, but that's more disclosure than historically anybody's ever, at least come from me. Okay, so get on it. Interesting note, I just want to throw it in there, is to differentiate the way in which I speak in terms of something like that. Okay, so somebody like Daniel, who I might have all the respect in the world for when it comes to their energy, the way in which they speak, especially as a salesperson, whatever, or a promoter, whatever. It's high energy. It's awesome. I mean, it works good. The problem with, there's also a recognition at the same time, and I just want to throw it out there. Okay, so there's a differentiator there. But what I'm getting at is that I also recognize that salesmen and promoters are freaking whores. Okay, whores, sales whores by long historical. Long history, okay? So they'll sell anything to anybody at the end of the day if they have no underlying basis for not selling it, okay? So, which is very dangerous. It's great. It's great depending on who you are, okay? If you're a high-level person with money and control, you have to take those things into consideration in terms of strategy, especially long-term strategy, private equity, family office strategy, things of that nature. Governments that have long-term running strategy, etc. Those are all things of consideration. Okay. Salespeople, they're so short-sighted. They're like Brian. When Brian had really bad vision, he had to wear, before he had laser surgery, he had to go wear, glasses to. That's a salesman. A salesman sees this far, okay, and they don't give a shit. They're so short-sighted, which is great when you need to make money. Don't get me wrong, okay, but they have no self-control.